All right, we're going to get started in a very timely fashion here, right at 6 o'clock on the 2nd. I want to say thanks to everybody who took the time to come. I know it's hard to take some time out of your evenings on a holiday or approaching the holidays, but this is a really important subject. So tonight we're here to to discuss HB 513 and the rulemaking that's taken place. And essentially, we just wanted to involve everybody. We've released a first draft and received comments, and we've tried to incorporate those comments. But we wanted to make sure you all have a chance to see what our response to those comments were and see what that second draft looks like. So if you're here tonight, I know you're either involved with lithium extraction or care about the Great Salt Lake, and we really appreciate both aspects of that. In HB 513 rulemaking, it's been a real challenge because it's a complicated issue, but it was really easy to tell that the intent of the bill was to ensure that the health of Great Salt Lake stayed intact even with the development of minerals. So that's what we tried to accomplish with HB 513, and if I may say, I think we did a fairly good job at capturing the intent of the bill. So tonight we're going to walk through both Forestry, Fire, and State Lands and Division of Water Qualities rules and give you the basic structure. You're welcome to wait until the end of the meeting and you can give us verbal comments. If you go to our website at ffsl.utah.gov, you can also see both copies of the rules there with a link to water qualities rules and a link to a form where you can also upload documents if you want to make your changes in the documents or suggest changes or make comments there. So with that, Maddie Whittier is going to go through the rules for Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. She's an Assistant Attorney General for Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, and she's put a lot of work into this. And then we have Ben Holcomb here with the Division of Water Quality, who will go through his changes. So with that, I'll hand it over to Maddie. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ben. And good evening and welcome, everybody. My goal is just to do a quick run through on kind of what we've put forth from a really high level and just walk us through it and set us up for the rest of the evening. So here we go. In House Bill 513, which was enacted during the 2023 general session of the legislature, the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands was directed to do a number of things. This bill addressed element and mineral extraction on Great Salt Lake, and as Ben said, had the task of managing a lot of priorities. So as the state's sovereign land manager, the division was tasked with carrying out these changes and additions, predominantly stemming from these 3 code sections. The structure that we've proposed and put forth for you all to review is kind of what's on the screen here with a few additional sections. It was a lot of work with the agency and we had to cover a lot of ground, so bear with us when reading through it all. This is a little diagram of the rule framework generally, kind of contemplating and hopefully simplifying the process that we see an operator going through to get to production. So the division proposes a 2-step approach to bringing lithium extraction specifically is on the mind right now online on Great Salt Lake. So once an element or mineral is nominated for production, the division engages in rulemaking to set a royalty rate and calculation methodology. That's predominantly what we're doing right now. Once this is done, operators may engage with the division to move toward full-scale operations. Due to the ecological sensitivity of the Great Salt Lake and the promise and presence of new extraction technologies, these rules contemplate a feasibility assessment. An operator would submit a feasibility application and, if approved by the division, engage in what we're calling a feasibility assessment, producing significant data regarding the commercial viability of the proposed operation, as well as addressing any negative impacts to the biota or chemistry of the lake. The feasibility assessment term is 9 months, though operators who need less time are free to move forward in the process once they have generated the necessary information for eventual submission to the division. To operate during the feasibility assessment, an operator will receive a short-term sampling royalty agreement from the division. Once complete, the operator may submit an operations application in pursuit of a full-scale operations royalty agreement. The division will evaluate operators on a number of factors, including but not limited to the type of technology employed, the ability to certify no negative impacts, and a demonstration of commercial viability. If an application is approved, an operator will receive an operations royalty agreement with a term of 10 years. That agreement is necessary for an operator to begin production and dictates the royalty rate the operator will pay. So, like I said, the feasibility assessment is fairly involved. We're looking for a lot of information from operators at the front end, but we're also hoping to provide the opportunity to generate a lot of information. The term here, as I mentioned, is 9 months, though an operator may file for renewal and may also terminate that feasibility assessment early. In our rules, we've also contemplated designating Great Salt Lake as a multiple mineral development area and recognizing the minerals held there in suspension as a common source of supply. The designation here aims to prevent waste, manage the realities of multiple operators extracting the same element or mineral with varying technologies, and provide remedies for operator versus operator conflicts. At the operations scale, there are fairly rigorous required showings that we're hopeful will help us to make the best determination in getting operators on the lake. The division is also required to provide approval of any certifications that the operators make regarding no negative impact to biota and chemistry. This is something that the Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands will work with water quality to approve. And we plan to work together to process this portion of the operator applications. So as I said, once approved, an operator will receive an operations royalty agreement, and that has a term of 10 years subject to continuation. If multiple applications are submitted at the same time, the division will begin processing an application that utilizes non-evaporative technology first. However, the division is not obligated to process that application to completion before processing other applications. Once in the operations phase, we've contemplated ongoing reporting requirements as well as inspections by the division. Now for the exciting part. These rules also contemplate a royalty rate and methodology specifically for lithium. The division has proposed a base royalty rate of 5% for lithium and a deduction for operators using wholly non-evaporative technologies, amounting to a royalty rate of 2.5%. These royalty rates escalate as the sale price of lithium escalates. The proposed rules provide a schedule dictating those variable rates. Finally, the proposed rules address emergency trigger management. This trigger is based on salinity conditions. The division has very clear management actions that it needs to take or may take under House Bill 513. And these rules contemplate both those management actions as well as the procedures for terminating trigger conditions. And that is what we have. Thank you.
Good evening. Similar to Forestry, Fire, State Lands, this is our second draft for these rules. If you all weren't able to see our draft rules last go around, I'm hopeful that by us piggybacking with them and cooperating with them, we can get more exposure to our rules so we can draft a more perfect rule if we can get there. All right, so first, the regulatory basis for why Division of Water Quality is involved. So first off, we do have authorizations on the Clean Water Act, specifically through the NPDS, which is the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. We have the primacy in the state to authorize discharges to waters of the state. We also have 401 certifications, which authorize federal actions to protect water quality. But those have although they have their own benchmarks, like the Clean Water Act prescribes in terms of protecting the existing uses and ensuring that degradation of waters does not occur, The language in House Bill 513, in our opinion, requires an extra layer or an extra bar for us to consider. And so that's why we've drafted separate but aligned rules for this process, specifically the not negatively impacting the biota or chemistry aspect. So in terms of how this will play out for us, that specific language is, we've defined it in our rules in 4 different ways. And this isn't necessarily, we're not going to go through a checklist and ensure that each part of these things are checked off, but because this is a self-certification, we wanted to provide some guidance to applicants on how they can self-certify themselves in these contexts. So I'm not going to read these off for you. You can read it in our rule, but essentially it addresses aspects of discharging pollution, which is very similar to how we would look at something under our UPDS process, the timing and volume of flows, looking at habitat, and then finally impacting that's that no negative impact to biota. Along with that, so as Forestry Fire State Lands described, there is going to be this feasibility assessment, and although we won't play as an important of a role in the 513 sense of it, we will be kind of piggybacking off of our UPDS process and asking for information up front, so when we get through the feasibility phase and into the operations phase, that information is available for us to evaluate the self-certification. So Maddie covered the Forestry Fire State Lands rule framework. Just to help put this into some context, this red circle is primarily where we'll be working in that framework. So it's the feasibility side of it, and which phases into that operations piece. So if I want to dive in a little deeper into how it might look for us, so we've got this pre-application consultation phase, and these will be happening simultaneous with our UPDS permitting process. So that aspect won't change. There'll just be some additional information that we're going to ask from the applicant up front to be more efficient. By the time we get to the operations phase, we'll have the information we need. That will, in a sense, be a certification by rule. And then when we get to the operations application, there will still be a UPDS permitting process, but there will also be this extra element of 513 certification approval. Our UPDS process will occur like it normally does. It's renewed every 5 years, whereas this certification process does it in 10. So in terms of our next steps, we're in rule development now. Our comment period will go through the end of the year. We're hopeful that we're at the kind of fine-tuning phase of the rulemaking so that we can take your comments, make the adjustments. We have an extra step in our rulemaking process where we go to our Water Quality Board for their approval. So we're targeting our January board, which puts us at a publication date to Division of Administrative Roles around February 1st. And that's all from me. So please comment. There's the link. And for now, I'll turn it over to Brianne.
Thank you, Ben and Maddie and Ben, keeping the names easy to remember tonight. That concludes our presentation for the evening, and we will now open it up to public comments. I just want to go over a few ground rules first for those in person and online. It looks like we have a fair amount of folks online as well. If you're in person, we have comment cards up at the table, and those we're asking for your name and the subject of your comment. That will help us keep track of comments as we go back through the recording, as well as keep us orderly and moving along smoothly. As Ben mentioned, we know you all don't want to be here all night. And for those of you online, we will get to you after the in-person portion. And either way, if you're online or in person, please state your first and last name and your affiliation if applicable. Please mention whether your comment is directed towards FFSL or DWQ or both. And then we're asking folks to limit their comments to 2 minutes, and there will be a countdown clock up here. And that's just to ensure that everyone is heard in a timely fashion. And as has been mentioned, there is opportunity to submit comments and upload any forms you may have online. So if you feel you're going to exceed the 2 minutes and you have more to say, we welcome you to submit those online. Please be respectful of that time. If you're online, we may mute you if we need to. We don't want to do that, so just keep an eye on that countdown clock. Carl and Emily, if you want to raise your hands, they can both collect your comment cards and they will bring them up to me. And if you're in person, I will call you up to the microphone in the center and you can submit your comment. If you're online, there's a little hand symbol down at the bottom of your screen. You will want to push that to raise your hand. That will let us know that you have a comment. And then I will go through and call your name when it's your turn. And at that point, you can click the little microphone button to unmute yourself. And we will be able to hear you at that point. So, do we have any in-person comments? No? Okay. Do we have anyone online who would like to provide a comment? I'll give you a minute to find that hand if you want to raise your hand. You guys are making this way too easy on me. Well, it's looking like nobody has anything to add. Oh, okay, thank you. Jordan Carter online. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Carter, curator at Dia Art Foundation in New York. And I guess my question is both, or my comment rather, is for both FFSL and Division Water Quality, in the hopes that perhaps these lithium extraction rules could include sort of a provision regarding the impact on culturally important sites prior to granting extraction rights or royalty agreements. I'm speaking specifically about the Spiral Jetty, which Dia maintains as one of the most important examples of land art in the world. The Spiral Jetty is also an official state work of art. It's also in the process for nomination to enter the National Registry of Historic Places, which is the federal government's official list of sites of national importance. And I just wanted to raise this as, you know, some of these operations and potential sort of extraction sites could have a real impact on the site's actual visitor experience in terms of noise, as well as traffic and other sort of hindrances. In addition to this, the artwork, which you may be familiar with, is inherently linked to the ecological conditions of the site, including the water chemistry, the watercolor, and these general conditions that are really inherent to the work of art itself. So all of this is really important as we move forward to continue to steward this incredible piece of artwork that has existed since 1970 without really any human or industrial intervention or changes. So hoping that these sites such as this of such cultural significance can be really taken into account as we move forward with these lithium extraction rules.
Thank you very much. Anyone else online, go ahead and raise your hand. I'm not seeing anyone. So as you have more time to think about this and mull it over, again, we're accepting comments online until the end of December, December 31st at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. So please, if you have anything that you haven't thought of yet or you don't want to say in public, go ahead and submit those online. And I will turn the time back over to Ben.
Thanks, Brianne. I thought we were going to have a few more comments, so I guess I would just echo what Brianne said and just say thank you for showing up tonight. And we hope that whatever you didn't comment on tonight comes in the form of our online comment box, or if we just got the rules so dead on, then I guess we're good to go. But anyway, thank you. We intend to incorporate comments hopefully around the new year, and then submit these to the Division of Administrative Rules around mid-January. So we will be on a similar timeline to water quality. But again, we'll stick around for a little bit here, and yeah, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. But anyway, thank you for coming tonight.